The smell of disinfectant and baby powder mingled in my nostrils as I pushed open our front door, Maya's carrier weighing heavily on my arm. 3 days in the hospital had left me craving the comfort of my own space, my own things, but something felt off the moment I stepped inside. "Welcome home." Vivian's voice drifted from our living room, syrupy sweet and dangerous. I set Maya's carrier down gently, my body still aching from the cesarean. The house was different, emptier, wrong. My throat tightened as I made my way down the hallway, each step revealing another missing piece of my life. "What have you done?" The words scraped out of my mouth as I reached the living room doorway. There sat my mother-in-law, perched on our leather sofa like a vulture, surrounded by stacks of cash. My cash. Behind her, the built-in shelves stood bare, stripped of my collection of vintage cameras. The art prints I'd carefully curated were gone from the walls, leaving only shadow marks on the paint. Teaching you responsibility, Genesis dear. Vivian didn't look up as she counted another stack of bills. A new mother needs to focus on her baby, not all these distractions. I gripped the doorframe, my knees threatening to buckle. Those were my things, my property. And now they're money for the baby's future. She smiled, all teeth. Really, you should thank me. I got excellent prices at the estate sale. Estate sale. The words hit like a physical blow. While I was in the hospital giving birth to her grandchild, she had systematically stripped away my identity. Maya's cry pierced the air, and I turned back toward the entrance, my body moving on autopilot. As I lifted her from the carrier, I noticed my wedding photos were missing from the entryway table. Everything personal, everything mine, gone. "Where's Ryan?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Working late, as usual." "He knows nothing about this, of course. Men don't understand these things." Vivian stood, smoothing her expensive slacks. "I took the liberty of reorganizing your closet as well. All those impractical designer pieces had to go. A mother needs sensible clothes. My closet." I practically ran up the stairs, Maya clutched to my chest, her tiny body my only anchor to reality. The master bedroom door swung open to reveal bare hangers, where my carefully curated wardrobe had hung. The vintage Chanel suit I'd worn when I first met Ryan at the marketing firm, the red dress from our engagement party, the silk blouses I'd earned with every promotion, all gone. "You had no right." I turned to find Vivian watching from the doorway. "This is theft. This is guidance." She stepped closer, her perfume suffocating. "Ryan gave me the spare key for emergencies. Clearly, this qualified. You need to understand your role now, Genesis. You're a mother, not some career woman playing house." Maya whimpered, and I instinctively rocked her, even as rage burned through my veins. "Get out." "Now, dear, get out." Each word was ice. "And take your blood money with you. This isn't over." Vivian's mask slipped for just a moment, showing something like fear before her practiced smile returned. "We'll see about that. Welcome to motherhood, Genesis." I watched her leave, listening to her heels click down the stairs, the front door open and close. Only then did I sink to the floor, holding Maya close as tears burned my eyes. "I promise you," I whispered to my daughter, "she will never do to you what she's trying to do to me." My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Hope you're settling in okay. Love you both." I stared at the message, at the empty closet, at the bare walls. Vivian thought she was teaching me about motherhood. Instead, she'd taught me about war, and I intended to win. Maya's soft breathing filled the nursery as I traced the walls where my art prints used to hang. 3 days had passed since coming home, and Ryan still hadn't noticed anything missing. Or maybe he had, and just couldn't bring himself to ask. The front door clicked open downstairs. "Jen!" Ryan's voice carried up, followed by his footsteps. I didn't answer, keeping my eyes fixed on the bare wall. He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie, that familiar concerned crease between his eyebrows. "Everything okay? You didn't answer my texts today." "Just thinking about when we first met," I said, turning to face him. "Remember how we competed for that Johnson account?" He smiled, shoulders relaxing. "You destroyed me in that pitch meeting, and then you asked me out for coffee to learn from my strategy." The memory tasted bitter now. "We were equals then." His smile faded. "Jen, what's this about?" "Your mother sold my things." The words fell like stones between us. "While I was in the hospital. Everything. My cameras, my art, my clothes." Ryan blinked, processing. "What?" "No, she wouldn't." "Check our closet." I watched him walk to our bedroom, heard his sharp intake of breath. When he returned, his face had gone pale. "I'll talk to her," he said. "There must be some misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I laughed, the sound harsh enough to make Maya stir. "She had an estate sale, Ryan. She counted the money in front of me when I came home with your daughter." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from our dating days. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" "Why didn't you notice?" I countered. 3 days, Ryan. 3 days of bare walls and empty closets. I've been distracted with work. The merger. Like you were distracted when she rearranged our kitchen last month, or when she started showing up unannounced every weekend? The words rushed out now, months of frustration breaking free. Or maybe you were too distracted to remember it was your idea for me to quit my job. That's not fair. His voice hardened. We agreed it would be best for the baby. No, we didn't agree. You presented it as the only option, backed by statistics from your mother about child development and working parents. I stepped closer, forcing him to meet my eyes. Tell me something. Did you ever actually want an equal partner, or was that just until you found someone to mold into your mother's vision? Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it reflexively, and I caught Vivian's name on the screen. Go ahead, I said. Answer it. She's probably calling to make sure you're handling me properly. Genesis, stop. He shoved the phone back in his pocket. You're being paranoid. Mother can be overwhelming sometimes, but she means well. Means well? I moved to Maya's crib, placing my hand on her back, feeling her tiny heartbeat. She violated our home, stole my property, and you're defending her. I'm not defending. He cut off as Maya began to cry. Look, let me talk to her. I'll sort this out. I lifted Maya, cradling her close. You know what the worst part is? When we were dating, you told me stories about how controlling she was, how she drove your father away. I thought you understood. I thought you'd be different. Ryan stepped toward us, reached out, then let his hand fall. I'll get the money back. I'll make this right. It was never about the money. I turned away, focusing on soothing Maya. It was about respect, about trust, about being partners. We are partners. No, I said quietly. Partners notice when their wife's world is being dismantled. Partners protect each other. Maya settled against my shoulder, her cries softening. Partners choose each other. His phone buzzed again. This time, he answered it, stepping into the hallway. I heard his murmured conversation, the familiar placating tone he used with his mother. Looking down at Maya's peaceful face, I made a decision. Ryan could keep playing peacekeeper between his mother and me. But I was done being the victim in their dynamic. If Vivian wanted to teach me about being a mother, I'd show her exactly what a mother was capable of when protecting what was hers. The question was, what would I have left to protect when this was over? The security camera footage played on my laptop screen, grainy but clear enough. Vivian's familiar figure moved through our living room at 2:47 p.m. last Tuesday while I was at my prenatal appointment. She wasn't just dropping by. She was searching, methodical and purposeful, pulling books from shelves and rifling through drawers. I'd installed the cameras after Maya's birth, telling Ryan they were for the baby's safety. He'd smiled, called me overprotective. If he only knew. The footage continued. Vivian disappeared upstairs, returning 20 minutes later, clutching papers to her chest. My stomach clenched. Our home office was upstairs. Maya's monitor crackled with her afternoon fuss. I closed the laptop and headed to the nursery, my mind racing. What had she taken? What was she looking for? The answer waited in Ryan's desk drawer that evening, after he'd left for his weekly dinner with Vivian. A stack of letters. Dozens of them, all from her to him, dating back months before our wedding. I pulled one at random, dated 3 weeks ago. Dearest Ryan, I worry about Genesis's capability as a mother, her resistance to traditional values, her stubborn independence. These aren't qualities that nurture a stable home. Remember how your father's modern ideas destroyed our family? I've seen the signs before. My hands shook as I read letter after letter. Each one methodically undermined me, poisoned Ryan's perception of me, justified every interference. The front door opened downstairs. I froze. Letters scattered across the desk. Jen? Ryan's voice. Home early. I gathered the letters quickly, shoving them into my pocket. In the office. His footsteps on the stairs, then he appeared in the doorway, looking troubled. Mother's not feeling well. Dinner ended early. How convenient, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Everything okay? She's worried about you. He leaned against the doorframe. Says you've been cold lately, distant. I almost laughed. Distant? After what she did? She returned the money today. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. And she's sorry about the estate sale. She thought she was helping. The letters burned in my pocket. Did she tell you why she has a key to our house? For emergencies. Like searching our office while I'm at doctor's appointments. His expression shifted. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, pulled up the security footage, watched his face as he saw his mother methodically violating our privacy. This doesn't prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. She could have been looking for... I threw the letters onto the desk between us. They scattered like accusations. Read them, I said. Read how she's been systematically turning you against me, how she compares me to your father, warns you about my independence, my career ambitions, my unfitness as a mother. Ryan picked up a letter, then another. His face grew paler with each one. She's scared, he whispered finally, after Dad left. Stop making excuses for her. The words exploded out of me. She's not scared. She's controlling, and you're letting her do it. Maya's cry pierced the tension. I moved to leave, but Ryan caught my arm. Why didn't you tell me about these before? I looked at his hand on my arm, then into his eyes. Because you wouldn't have believed me. You still don't want to. That's not fair. Neither is this. I pulled away. Your mother isn't just trying to control me anymore, Ryan. She's trying to control Maya's future. And I won't let that happen. What are you saying? Maya's cries grew louder. I headed for the nursery, calling over my shoulder. I'm saying you need to decide whose side you're really on. Because this war your mother started? It ends with one of us winning, and I don't lose. I lifted Maya from her crib, holding her close as Ryan stood in the doorway, letters still clutched in his hand. The choice was his now, but I already knew what my next move would be. Vivian wasn't the only one who could play the long game, and she'd just given me all the ammunition I needed. The bank statement trembled in my hands as I sat in the parked car outside Vivian's favorite salon. $200,000, transferred from our joint account to a new one in Ryan's name only. Last Thursday, the day after I showed him the letters, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Working late again. Don't wait up. Through the salon window, I watched Vivian laugh with her stylist, probably sharing another story about her incompetent daughter-in-law. She'd been here 3 hours already. Plenty of time for me to do what I came for. I slipped my spare key into her front door, the one Ryan had given me during better days, for emergencies. The house smelled of leather and old money, everything perfectly arranged like a museum to her control. In her study, I found what I expected. Files, meticulously organized. But what I discovered made my blood run cold. Custody papers, already drawn up. Documentation of my unstable behavior. Photographs of me crying in the nursery, taken through our kitchen window. Notes about my concerning isolation and rejection of family support. Looking for something? I whirled around. Vivian stood in the doorway, her fresh highlights gleaming like a crown. You're building a case against me. My voice came out steady, surprising us both. Insurance. She stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. Ryan's always had a weakness for strong women, just like his father. But strong women break things, Genesis, families, marriages, children. Is that what happened? Your husband left because you weren't strong enough to keep him? Her smile tightened. I kept what mattered. My son, my position, my control. And now you're trying to take my daughter. Oh, darling. She perched on her desk, perfectly poised. I'm trying to save her. From a mother who's clearly suffering from postpartum depression, who's becoming paranoid, who installed security cameras and makes wild accusations. She gestured to the files. The evidence is quite compelling. My hands curled into fists. Ryan would never. Ryan already has. She pulled out a document, his signature fresh at the bottom. He's concerned too. That transfer you discovered? It's to protect family assets while we get you the help you need. The room tilted. You're lying. Check your text messages. He's not working late. He's meeting with my lawyer. She leaned forward, almost gentle. It's for the best, Genesis. You're not well. Maya needs stability. I backed toward the door, files clutched to my chest. This isn't over. It was over the moment you married my son. Her voice followed me down the hall. I just had to wait for you to prove me right. Outside, I sat in my car, hands shaking as I called Ryan's office. Mr. Anderson left early today, his secretary said. He had a meeting with Patricia Chen, Vivian's lawyer. I drove home on autopilot, mind racing. The house was dark when I arrived, Maya's nursery silent. I checked the security footage. There was Ryan, 4 hours ago, lifting Maya from her crib, packing her diaper bag with practiced care. My phone buzzed again. Staying at Mom's tonight with Maya. We need to talk tomorrow. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. The message blurred as tears filled my eyes. But beneath the pain, something else crystallized. Pure, clarifying rage. They thought they had me cornered, labeled, diagnosed, and dismissed. But they'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't just Maya's mother or Ryan's wife. I was the woman who'd outmaneuvered Ryan in every business deal before he married me. The executive who'd built campaigns from nothing. The strategist who never played to lose. I pulled out my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. If they wanted evidence, I'd give them evidence. If they wanted a war, I'd give them destruction. But first, I needed to make a call to the one person who hated Vivian as much as I did. It was time to talk to Ryan's father. The cafe buzzed with morning chatter as I sat across from James Anderson, studying Ryan's features in his father's aged face. He stirred his coffee methodically, the same way his son did. Vivian always was thorough, he said, reviewing the custody documents I'd brought. She used similar tactics when she took Ryan from me, documented every business trip, every late meeting, every moment I wasn't the perfect father she demanded. And you just let her win? His smile was bitter. I made the mistake of believing Ryan would see through her manipulation eventually. By the time I realized my error, she'd already convinced him I'd abandon them both. My phone lit up. Another message from Ryan. The lawyer says this can be simple if you cooperate. Mom's found an excellent facility. I switched it off. I need something I can use against her, something concrete. After 20 years? James shook his head. Vivian doesn't leave evidence, Genesis. She creates it. The waitress refilled our cups. I watched the steam rise, remembering the security footage, the photographs through my window, the carefully crafted narrative of my instability. Unless... James leaned forward. There might be something. The trust fund she set up for Ryan, the one she uses to control his financial decisions. I always suspected the money came from illegal sources. My marketing brain kicked in. That would explain how she maintained her lifestyle after your divorce, despite having no visible income. If you could prove it. He left the sentence hanging. The cafe door chimed. I glanced up and froze. Vivian stood in the entrance, her face a masterpiece of calculated concern. She walked toward us, each click of her heels a countdown. Genesis, darling, we've been so worried. Her voice carried just enough for nearby tables to hear. Running off like this, meeting with questionable people. James stood. Hello, Vivian. Still practicing your concerned mother act? James, still trying to destroy what's left of our family? She turned to me, eyes gleaming. Ryan's beside himself. First the paranoid accusations, now secret meetings with his estranged father. This isn't helping your case, dear. I rose slowly, steady despite my racing heart. Interesting. You found me awfully quickly for someone who claims I'm paranoid about being watched. A mother's intuition. She placed a manicured hand on my arm. Let me help you, Genesis. For Maya's sake. I jerked away. Don't touch me. Everything okay here? The waitress appeared, coffee pot ready like a weapon. Fine, I said, but Vivian spoke over me. My poor daughter-in-law is having a difficult time adjusting to motherhood. We're just trying to get her the help she needs. The waitress's sympathetic look cut deeper than any knife. This was Vivian's true power, turning concern into control, twisting reality until I looked exactly like the unstable mother she'd painted me to be. I have to go, I said, gathering my things. Genesis. James caught my arm. Remember what I said about the trust. Some things are worth burning for. Vivian's smile flickered. For just a moment, I saw fear in her eyes. Outside, the morning sun felt too bright, too exposing. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. A photo appeared. Maya in her carrier, sleeping peacefully in what looked like a lawyer's office. Another message followed. Time to come home, Genesis, or the next meeting will be about more than temporary custody. I stared at Maya's peaceful face, my vision blurring with tears of rage. Vivian thought she was teaching me about motherhood, about sacrifice, Instead, she taught me that sometimes, to protect what you love, you had to be willing to destroy everything else. I opened my contacts, scrolling to a number I'd kept from my executive days, a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering hidden money trails. Hello, Marcus. I need you to look into a trust fund, and I need it done quietly. If Vivian wanted to play with fire, I'd show her how it felt to burn. Marcus's report landed in my inbox at 3 a.m., its contents glowing like toxic waste on my laptop screen. Offshore accounts, shell companies, money laundering through art purchases, Vivian's financial empire was built on decades of careful fraud. The trust fund that controlled Ryan's life was a house of cards waiting to collapse. My phone lit up. Ryan? Where are you? His voice was raw. Mom says you've been making threats. I laughed, the sound foreign even to my ears. Is that what she calls it when someone fights back? Genesis, please. Come home. We can work this out. Like you worked out the custody papers or the commitment papers. Silence stretched between us. Then, how did you... No. I know everything now, Ryan. About the trust fund, about your father, about how your mother built her perfect little kingdom on lies. What are you talking about? Check your email. I heard the notification ping through the phone, followed by the sound of him opening the files. His breathing changed as he read. This can't be real. Ask her. Watch her face when you do. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life or finally broken free. 20 minutes later, pounding on my hotel room door made me jump. Genesis! Vivian's voice, sharp with panic. Open this door immediately. I checked the peephole. She stood there alone, perfectly coiffed even at this hour, but her hands were shaking. I opened the door. Where's Maya? Safe with Ryan. Unlike you, I don't use children as weapons. She pushed past me into the room. What do you want? Want? To keep this quiet. Name your price. I closed the door slowly, savoring the moment. You think this is about money? It's always about money. She paced the small room. Fine. Full custody. The house. Half the trust fund. I want my daughter. My voice cut through her bargaining. I want my life back. I want you gone. She stopped pacing, something dangerous flickering in her eyes. You have no idea what you're doing. One phone call and I can... What? Destroy me? Too late. I pulled out my phone. One button, and every financial authority in the country gets these files. Your empire burns. Ryan sees who you really are. Is that what you want? You'll lose everything, too. She stepped closer. Ryan will never forgive you for destroying his mother. Maya will grow up knowing you tore her family apart. Is revenge worth that price? My finger hovered over the send button. Maybe not. But protecting my daughter from you? That's worth everything. Mom. Ryan's voice from the doorway made us both jump. He stood there, Maya sleeping against his shoulder, looking between us with new eyes. Is it true? All of it? Vivian's mask cracked. Ryan, darling, I can explain. Don't. He walked past her to me, gently transferring Maya into my arms. I saw the papers. Called the lawyer. It's over. No. Vivian grabbed his arm. Everything I did was for you. To protect you. Like I protected you from your father. You mean how you drove him away? Ryan pulled free. How you're trying to drive Genesis away? She'll destroy everything we built. You already did that. He turned to me, eyes full of grief and determination. Come home, please. We'll fix this together. Maya stirred in my arms, her tiny hand clutching my shirt. I looked at Vivian, saw the desperation beneath her perfect facade, the fear of losing control. One condition, I said. "She never comes near our family again." "You can't," Vivian started, but Ryan cut her off. "Done." As we left, Vivian called out one last time, her voice breaking. "Ryan, please. I'm your mother." He didn't look back. "No, you're just someone who taught me what a mother shouldn't be." In the elevator, holding Maya, watching Ryan's reflection in the mirrored walls, I wondered if victory was supposed to feel this hollow. We'd won, but the cost was written in the shadows under Ryan's eyes, in the tremor of his hands as he touched Maya's cheek. Sometimes winning feels exactly like losing, but at least we'd lose together. The doorbell rang at midnight. 1 week after our confrontation at the hotel, Ryan tensed beside me on the couch, but I already knew who it was. The security camera showed Vivian standing on our porch, no longer the polished matriarch, but something rawer, more dangerous. "Don't answer it," Ryan said. I handed him Maya's sleeping form and stood. "This ends tonight." Vivian had been busy this week, calling Ryan's colleagues, spreading rumors about my mental state, trying to freeze our accounts, each attack more desperate than the last. I opened the door. She pushed past me, stumbling slightly. The perfect mask had cracked, showing something wild underneath. "I got your message," she said, waving her phone. "You're bluffing about sending those files to the authorities." "Am I?" I closed the door, following her into the living room. "You don't know me very well." She stopped short at the sight of Ryan holding Maya. Something flickered across her face. Pain, longing, fury. "I know exactly who you are." Her voice shook. "A woman who married above her station, who couldn't handle real responsibility, who's destroying my son's life." "That's enough." Ryan stood, cradling Maya protectively. "You don't understand what she's doing," Vivian pleaded. "She'll take everything. Your daughter, your reputation, your future. Just like your father tried to tell him the truth." I stepped between them. About his father, about the money, about all of it. I protected him. She whirled on me. "You think you know what it takes to keep a family safe? I built everything we have. Everything." "Through fraud," Ryan said quietly. "Through lies. Through necessity." She moved toward him, hands outstretched. "Your father would have destroyed us with his gambling debts. I did what I had to do. Everything I built, every decision I made, was for you." "No." I caught her arm. "It was for you. Your control. Your fear of being alone." She jerked away, but something had changed in her eyes. "You think you're so different? Look at yourself. Destroying evidence, manipulating situations, using Maya as leverage. You're becoming me." The words hit like a physical blow, because somewhere beneath my righteousness, I knew she was right. "The difference," I said slowly, "is I'm going to stop." I pulled out my phone, opened the email containing Marcus's report, and deleted it. "Genesis, what are you doing?" Ryan stepped forward. "Choosing who I want to be." I turned to Vivian. "You're right. I was becoming you, and Maya deserves better than that legacy." "You're a fool," she whispered, but her voice had lost its edge. "Maybe, but I'm a fool who's done playing your game." I moved to the door, opening it. "Leave, Vivian. Not because I'm forcing you, but because it's the only way any of us heal." She stood frozen, looking between Ryan and Maya, then at me. For the first time, I saw past her armor to the terrified woman beneath, the one so afraid of losing control she'd lost everything else instead. "Ryan," she breathed, one last plea. He shook his head, tears in his eyes. "Goodbye, Mom." She straightened, gathering the shreds of her dignity. At the door, she paused. "You'll regret showing mercy." "No," I said. I'll regret becoming someone my daughter couldn't respect. After she left, Ryan and I stood in silence, Maya still sleeping peacefully between us. The victory felt different than I'd imagined. Not triumphant, but quietly profound. Why did you delete the evidence? He finally asked. I touched Maya's cheek, feeling her warm breath. Because revenge would have given her power over who I become. And I want to be someone who chooses differently than she did. He pulled us both close, and in that embrace, I felt something shift. Not an ending, but a beginning. We'd face the consequences tomorrow. The rumors, the financial fallout, the long process of healing. But tonight, in the quiet aftermath of choosing mercy over vengeance, I finally felt free. The envelope arrived on Maya's first birthday, elegant cream paper with Vivian's unmistakable handwriting. I found it while clearing away wrapping paper from the small celebration we'd just finished. Just the three of us, surrounded by balloons and the remnants of Maya's first cake adventure. Ryan noticed my hesitation. You don't have to open it, but I did. Inside was a key, the one she'd used to enter our house that day after Maya's birth, and a letter. The key fell heavy into my palm as I unfolded the paper. Genesis, I'm selling the house. Moving to Paris, perhaps. Or Rome. Somewhere far from the ruins I've created. You were right about one thing. I was afraid. Not just of losing Ryan, but of becoming irrelevant. Invisible. The money from my estate sale is in a trust for Maya. Clean money, I assure you. Consider it restitution for what I took from you. Accept it or don't. That's your choice now, as everything should have been from the start. You won what I never could, the wisdom to break the cycle. V. Ryan read over my shoulder, his breath catching. She's really leaving? She already has. I turned the key over in my hand. The postmark is from 2 weeks ago. Maya babbled from her high chair, face still smeared with frosting. I watched her grab at floating balloons, fearless and joy-filled, untouched by the shadows our battle had cast. What will you do with the trust? Ryan asked. I walked to Maya, wiping chocolate from her cheeks. Keep it. Not for us, but for her, so she'll always have choices. And the key? I looked at the small metal weight in my palm, thinking of locks and barriers, of boundaries crossed and trust broken, of how victory and defeat sometimes wore the same face. I think, I said slowly, it's time to change our locks. Not out of fear this time, but because some doors need to stay closed so others can open. Ryan wrapped his arms around us both, and Maya reached up, smearing frosting on his chin. We laughed, the sound lighter than it had been in months. Later that night, after Maya was asleep, I found another envelope while cleaning, this one hidden in the birthday decorations. Inside was a photograph I thought lost forever. Me in my vintage Chanel suit, shaking Ryan's hand after winning the Johnson account. On the back, in James's handwriting, found this in Vivian's things. Thought you should have it. Some victories are worth remembering. J. I pinned it to Maya's bulletin board, next to her birthday photos. Not as a reminder of what was lost, but as proof of what remained possible. Strength without cruelty, protection without possession, love without conditions. The security camera chimed, someone at the door. But when I checked the feed, I saw only a moving truck passing by, heading toward Vivian's neighborhood. In its wake, autumn leaves skittered across our porch, free and directionless. Ryan found me there, staring at the empty street. Regrets? He asked. No. I turned off the camera feed. Just thinking about choices and consequences, and how sometimes winning means choosing not to fight. He nodded, understanding what I couldn't quite say, that in the space between revenge and forgiveness lay something harder and more valuable than either. Maya's soft breathing drifted through the monitor, peaceful and sure. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new boundaries to draw and protect. But tonight, in the quiet aftermath of a first birthday celebration, I felt the weight of the past year settling into something like wisdom. I placed Vivian's key in a memory box alongside the photo and her letter, not to preserve the pain, but to remember its lessons. Then I closed the box, leaving the ghosts of what might have been to rest with the truth of what was. Some victories don't need witnesses. Some battles end not with surrender, but with the courage to put down our weapons and walk away. And sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply living well, on our own terms, in houses we build ourselves.